On today's Minute of the Apes, about an hour ago I did a workout called Linda. It's also called the 3 bars of death. I am stinky, I'm smelly, I'm covered in sweat, I've been wearing compression pants for the last hour and a half. I'm going to continue to do so for the next 30 minutes. Yet Todd somehow thinks he smells worse than I do. But I tell you what doesn't smell as bad as the monkey suit we're about to see in this shot.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape! Exercise would an ape make a human down. It talks. We are the keepers of the divine bound. It is our only reason for survival. We are determined to know what the apes want, war or peace. The only good human is a dead human!
The Minute of the Apes. The Minute of the Apes. The Minute of the Apes. The Minute of the Apes.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, a daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies. What are you doing with your shoulder?
He's checking.
No,
He's sniffing his armpit.
Yeah, I'm the one that's going to sniff my armpit and
Sean
be able to
has
tell
no
what's going
sense
on.
of smell, but
No, my shoulder was just sore.
so I'm trying to do the whole intro, and I look over, and Sean's just kind of do like
flexing
this.
at you, brother.
And I'm like, what is he doing?
Come on, let's go.
It's a gun show.
We're boxing.
So screw their introductions. You
I got
already
all
know who
worked
those
up
guys
like-
are across from me. Oh.
I'm like Dixon. I'm all worked up.
All right, so we are on to minute 43 of Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Sean, tell us what's going on with that minute.
All right, we're starting minute 43 with the director saying, now, its scientific name is a compound, and ends with Hasline saying he shan't leave Zira until Cornelius comes back.
Let's listen to this moment of Escape from the Planet of the Apes, and I shan't repeat myself.
You were really close to coughing, weren't you?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to try to get through that.
Now, its scientific name is a compound of the Greek ampron, which means hollow, and demus, which means body frame, referring to the backbone or vertebra. Now, this little fellow is Camptosaurus marsh, a primitive duck-billed dinosaur. Its scientific name is a compound of the Greek campto, which means flexible or bent, and saurus, which means lizard. Its generic name, therefore, is flexible lizard. In 1879, O.C. Marsh of Yale University described the first known species from the Jurassic beds of Ireland. Since then, other specimens have been found throughout the... Must have been the shock.
Shock my foot. I'm pregnant.
I shan't leave you until Cornelius is back.
As of minute 43, we have a planet's worth of humans plus 2 living apes and 1 dead ape.
This is one really big bag of Cheetos. Like,
It
I'm
doesn't
eating them.
end. You've been eating it for 2 days now.
2 days now.
Are they still fresh?
Man, they're good. They're getting better. My mouth is so numb
If they
now, I don't
say-
even taste the heat
If the
anymore.
bag is open for 2 days and they're still fresh, that can't be good for you.
All right, so the guy that's talking is named the curator. He's the curator of the Natural Museum. He is giving Zira and Hasline and what is described as a bodyguard to them both
Okay.
a tour, and they're talking about dinosaurs. And there's just something really inane about the fact that there's this entire page of the script with this curator's
And text or is
monologue
yeah.
about dinosaurs that I really don't know. Was Dane just thinking, I got to type all this shit out? This is awesome. I love dinosaurs. Like, it's more than we see in the screen, like, or on the shot. Like, he goes on for like a page
Right.
about dinosaurs. And I know it's supposed to get us to a point.
Right.
But man, he really padded the scene for a lot more discovery than we actually get.
That's the kind of dialogue, and I wondered if they had written it like this. But if you shot that today with modern sound design techniques, you would have it where almost it became like an echo. Like
Yeah.
she's not focusing on it, loses its
True,
focus,
yeah.
and you know it closes in so that we as the audience are drawn to what she's doing now. They give us that by and large, and they didn't do as much of this back then. But I found myself stopping and going to research if he was describing the correct kind of dinosaur, and I could
See
not
if he was
find
right or
that
not.
dinosaur as a duck-billed
I
could not
did
find
go
it.
look up the Camptosaurus.
Oh, did you?
And I have to say that it does look like the bone structure that we saw.
Okay.
Now, I am not a dinosaur expert,
Wait a second. I've been sold a bill of goods. You're not a dinosaur expert?
but apparently Dane is, because we are now approaching the Amatridius vallisledi, a giant flesh-eating dinosaur. The scientific name is a compound of the Greek amatron, or amatron, which means hollow, and demus, which means body frame, referring to the backbone of vertebrae. The trivial name is valens, Latin for strong. The complete technical designation can now be translated as a strong, hollowed vertebrae. And this little fellow is the Camptosaurus marsh, a primitive duck-billed dinosaur. The scientific name compound is Greek campto, which means flexible or bent, or saurus, and saurus, which means lizard. The generic name, therefore, means flexible lizard. In 1879, O.C. March of Yale University described the first known species of the genus from the Jurassic beds of Wyoming. Since that time, other specimens have been found throughout the Rocky Mountains throughout the Rocky Mountain area. Camptosaurus is a primitive member of the ornithopod or bird-footed dinosaur. Although primarily bipedal, Camptosaurus could drop to feet to feed or amble. The teeth are well developed for grinding vegetation.
Well, that'll do it for this minute, Ape.
This is when he had to go to Safeway and save up his green stamps to get those series of encyclopedias, just so he could specifically get D.
For
So you could
dinosaur.
look up dinosaur.
I'm going
And
to
copy it
reply to you
verbatim.
with something my 16-year-old would say when you got it right. T, sis. You are so spot on.
Jeez. Dude, Dane.
Well-
He didn't have Wikipedia to look this up, too. You know he had to pull that book from somewhere.
No, that's exactly what I thought. Did he stop to go to the library to check out the encyclopedia so he could write exactly that? And what paleontologist or whatever he may be seriously brings
He's gonna
in
bring all that detail into
and get into that shit? It's like, okay, this is the big thing that looks like a duck, and no one cares.
Well, the director-editor, appropriately cut out about half of that. I mean,
Yeah.
I read all of it, and that was he cut about half of it just to get to what we really wanted to see from the scene, right?
Yes.
And that's what the point is. First of all, I'm already put off by the fact that Hassline and Zero are together.
So
okay,
Hassline's
you bring
been
it-
trying to, because Cornelius would be the better person to come here because he's an archaeologist and he'd
Yes.
appreciate this
Good
more.
point. Really
That's
good
a very
point. I
good
thought
point.
He should
about
be
that,
here,
yeah.
but I think, because what we're starting to see, because we all think Hassline is the villain of this, is that he's trying to separate her from Cornelius so that he can find out more about her.
So, when we've seen Hassline before, have we seen him now in the Senate hearing type thing? He's sat back with his, legs spread open and all. Bleh. It was a little confrontational, but has he been directly confrontational to them at this point? I don't recall a moment of direct confrontation.
Oh, yeah, no,
A very passive confrontation, but not direct.
I think that's fair. Like, we see him at this particular point, but I'm not sure that they see him that way yet.
We've seen him away from them be much more confrontational
Right.
than he has with them. So, especially, and I do this to Pepper and what's coming in the coming minute, perhaps he's setting this up, putting himself in this place so he can do what he's going to do very soon. Knowing that he would at least have an opportunity. And when we get to the next minute, that's when we can talk about that.
So the curator's talking. Zira's listening. She's kind of walking around. He continues to talk. And she just kind of walks behind him and continues to walk past it. Hassline kind of follows her for a little bit, then pauses and lets her kind of walk. And the camera kind of follows her as she walks away. Like she's completely checked out.
And I had that note here too. I go, yeah, I have the same attitude as Zero. Whatever, dude. And then but I just know she's going to run into a stuffed monkey.
Well,
That was my note, which was followed by, and there it is, folk, the world's worst attempt at recreating a stuffed monkey.
so I have to bring up film production techniques over here. You shoot things flat like this for what's called coverage. Mm-hmm. You shoot cut-ins
To make it look good.
to make it more engaging, to cover should there be a problem in the coverage. I swear it feels like they shot one shot with that's it, keep her, go.
Do you not have any
check the
B-unit
gates.
stuff? Yeah.
Are you not doing anything? Because we see Hassline look. The weird thing is when you do that in coverage, if he looks, it's, oh, I saw him look. If you go in for a tight where it's 5 seconds, 3 seconds of him looking, it becomes, I'm keeping an eye on her.
Right.
And I know where she is. That moment plays weird because you keep thinking, okay, are they the worst hosts on the face of the earth that they just let, oh, there she goes. Yeah, whatever. I want to hear this about the duck-billed platysaurus, whatever this thing is,
Right.
It was just
Yeah, because you think they would.
peculiar.
especially be sensitive to the fact that they have an ape wing of the museum that has stuffed exhibits, that maybe we want to keep her away from that until we can properly explain why we do this thing.
Exactly.
So the script instruction is during the conversation from the curator, which he gives that entire script for them to cut, I assume. During this, Zira has continued walking and now approaches a majestic gorilla with dead glass eyes. Zira looking up at the 8-foot monster.
Wait, was
suddenly...
that the gorilla in the first movie that just going, dead eyes?
Zira looking up at the 8-foot monster suddenly gasps, staggers as though giddy. Now, you talk about this shot, right? And we see her leave the scene. We drag in this moment, and I have no idea where she's going or what she's enthralled by. But she's watching the room in front of us. We're looking at her, almost looking at the camera as she's looking at the room in front of her, kind of casually walking behind some columns and then walking behind or in front of this gorilla, not knowing that she's walking to exhibit. I needed something to let me know why she was suddenly so curious.
That's a really good point.
Or if they had said primate wing or something like that, so she would have... what's that? Yeah.
Even just a tacky little sign with some press and letters that she sees and then decides to kind of wander into.
Yeah, she has no motivation for what she does.
What they should have done is had a primate wing under construction with the tarps in front of it, and then she goes through it trying to see what's under there, and then she finds it there instead. That makes it where she snuck off a little bit instead of people just forgotten about her.
Right. No, the casual moment of her moving into the scene was just too awkward, and it didn't really make any sense. And so she walks in front of this giant, really bad. That's a costume, right? That's a really bad gorilla costume.
That possibly is the single worst attempt at stuffing a bad costume to look like an ape in a museum that's ever occurred. I don't even understand what that is. That had to be a costume, and I couldn't find the data, but that had to be something out of like a B movie. They just stole that costume.
Dinosaurs, they have dinosaur skeletons like just half a feet away, and they couldn't like wheel in a taxidermied gorilla for something for 5 seconds.
Apparently not.
Okay, so I'm going to show you all a picture of this. I'm making sure I'm showing you the right thing. There's a lion that's called the Lion of Gripsholm Castle. It's a lion that was stuffed by somebody who never knew what a lion looked like. It's the equivalent of that ape.
Oh my God.
I mean, the person who stuffed this had no idea what a lion looked like.
First off, once again, it's so good to be around you with your with the useless information that you know about. But I'll put a picture of that out when this episode comes out.
Surely something about this costume is real, and I just don't know what
I think that's
taxidermied fake apes look like. But that is not a real ape face.
That person should be fired.
Yeah, he's got perfectly shaved tits. I mean, I can't get that shaving great on my tits, right?
He's got that weird barrel body that goes to big hips that go to thin legs.
And he's got one arm kind of disjointed out here while the other one is kind of out here in front.
I mean, let's put it this way.
He was dancing when he was stuffed.
This has to be real, right? They didn't fake that.
No, that's fake. Somebody made that.
That's horrible.
For this movie.
All I could think about was that I saw, I followed that site called I Fucking Love Science. Do you ever?
No,
I would think it's a great site. And they'll put out little articles from time to time. And one not too long ago, hey, I'm a guy. I'm a hetero guy. I'll put it that way. And I like boobs. I'm not going to lie. And it said on there that humans are the only male species. Humans are the only species that has noticeable breasts that stay for the entirety.
Bigger.
That don't
deflate
just
when they're
go
not
away.
being used.
And as soon as I see this, I was like, well, somebody didn't read I Fucking Love Science, because look, there were some big old tits on that thing. It is nasty.
Yeah.
It is an awful looking thing. No wonder the woman.
Waxed. I mean, he's like,
no wonder she fainted.
He's like ready for nipple play. That may be why she fainted.
No, she is a little odd with her turn-ons. Maybe she likes her wax nipples.
They just took the gorilla costume from the beginning of the movie and stuffed it and put it there.
I really thought that hadn't died.
Yeah.
Well, we found when we did it, we found the guy that they rented the costume from and was well known to have these kind of costumes that they could use. I bet you 10 to 1. They also said, "Do you have something we could just stuff?"
Yeah,
sure you do. That.
We're throwing this one out anyways. You can have it.
We used to call it milk tits.
So she walks in front of it, facing the camera. We see the apparition first, which I think was a little too revealing.
Uh-huh.
She turns. We then get a shot of her.
No.
So we finally at least get a reverse angle of the moment.
Yeah.
We get a reverse angle moment. We get a shot of her, and we see her just kind of close her eyes.
Poor